It started when I was just a child, back when life felt like an unpredictable storm. From the time I stepped into kindergarten until the 4th grade, I was living under the shadow of epilepsy. It wasn't just the seizures, it was the fear, the unpredictability. It was so bad that the school assigned me a nurse who had keys to our home, always on call, as if waiting for the inevitable to strike. But then, there was that one day, the day everything could have gone wrong. I had another seizure, a bad one. My dad panicked, wanted to rush me to the hospital 40 miles away. We'd made that long drive before, through the winding roads, the constant dread weighing heavy on us. But this time, my mother stopped him. "No, Rudolph," she said, her voice unwavering. "We're not going to the hospital. We're taking her to Elder Reese." Elder Reese was an enigma, a man whose reputation preceded him, a man of God. Some whispered about his faults, but none doubted his faith. My father reluctantly agreed. We piled into our old station wagon, and I, barely conscious, sat in the back seat, trembling. The drive to Elder Reese's house felt different, heavier. When we arrived, he stepped out of his home, tall and solemn, his eyes locked onto me. He didn't say much, but when he prayed, the air seemed to shift. There was a strange, almost electric tension in the air, the kind that makes you wonder what's really happening. 2 days later, I had a doctor's appointment. My parents took me in, but something had changed. I felt different, lighter. When the doctor examined me, he paused, perplexed. He looked at my parents and asked, "What did you do?" They didn't answer at first, but then the tears came. They wept in the doctor's office because I was cured, completely. No explanation, no medical reasoning, just cured. I never had another seizure. Years passed, and at 18, I left that world of mystery behind and joined the military. Frankfurt, Germany was my first duty station, and I was so naive. I didn't know much, didn't understand how the world really worked. I was from the South, where everyone looked out for one another, and discipline extended beyond bloodlines. So, when I found myself surrounded by slick-talking New Yorkers, I thought they were my friends. I spent money on them, went out with them, trusted them. But when my pockets were empty, they disappeared. It wasn't friendship. I was being used because of my innocence. That's when SFC Vickerstaff entered my life. He was tough, but in a way that you knew he was trying to protect you. He restricted me to base, wouldn't let me get further taken advantage of, / I would not be able to go anywhere until I started taking college classes. He had the others to pay back what they owed me, even if it meant making a few enemies. Word spread quickly. Mason was troublemaker, but I wasn't causing trouble. I was just learning to stand up for myself. Then, October 1983 happened. The Beirut barrack bombing changed everything. I was assigned to mortuary duty, tasked with handling the bodies of fallen Marines. We were supposed to be there for 3 days. I stayed 3.5 weeks. I was new to the unit, low-ranking, and had no choice but to stay. I remember the captain's words like a knife. "If you're scared, go back. We don't have time to babysit anyone." But I couldn't move. Fear wrapped around me, but it didn't let me leave. When those trucks rolled in, loaded with body bags, I could feel my heart pounding in my throat. But when the doors opened, something changed in me. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wanted to honor them, those men in the bags, as if I owed them something. I helped unload them, washed their hair, tagged their toes. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, and I can still see their faces, peaceful, like they were sleeping. The smell of blood, it stayed with me. I thought I'd left it behind after those weeks, but years later, I smelled it again. My friend and I had stopped by the side of the road, and she thought it was a dead animal. I knew better. I knew the smell. I said, "No, that's a human body." We couldn't find it, but 2 days later they did. A body, just like I'd sensed. Frankfurt stayed cold, and not just the weather. I married there. Thought I'd found love, but it was an illusion. He was already married before he married me. I'd been played, and my family never even got a chance to meet him. Naive as I was, I learned life has a way of hardening you, of making you realize who you can trust and who's there to use you. But no matter how tough it got, I kept moving. Because like that day in the back of the station wagon, sometimes you have to put your faith in something bigger than yourself, even if it doesn't make sense. Even if it feels like the ground could give way beneath you at any second, just continue to keep the faith in God. Please continue to watch for more. Don't forget to like and subscribe.